Hey,
Yes,
hello.
yes, yes. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Campus Connection. Just in case you are listening via radio and you're maybe wondering what was that expression from
Mhm.
both myself and Nesta. Yeah, you should jump on the live at Love 101 FM Jamaica, Facebook or YouTube or TikTok. And you can be a part of the full experience, not just the audio, but the audio visual experience, right?
Yep,
Yes, I'm Jonathan, and with me is my co-host.
Anesta, and we are having already. We it looks like we're having a good time, and I know if you stay with us for this entire show, it's going to be good because we're talking about Jamaicans across the globe. We want to big up those people who are really making their mark. It's not easy being born in a country, raised in a country, and then moving to another country, trying to build a life there. And not only are you building a life there, but you are making strides. You're doing something that's impactful. And so we want to just recognize some of our Jamaicans, especially some of our young people who are doing these things. And so you definitely want to stay with us for the entire show. That's what we'll be focused on this week. So I'm looking forward to it, Jonathan. I'm looking forward to just hearing the feedback from. We have someone from Japan. We have
Mhm.
someone who studied chemistry at Coppin State University. We have somebody from University of Florida. I mean, needless
All
to
over.
say, this is all over. It's global.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this international episode of Campus Connection is brought to you by Heart NSTA Trust. Skill is power. And we'll just take a word right now from our sponsor.
On Wednesday, June 4, Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, will convene a meeting of the National Disaster Risk Management Council (NDRMC) at the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, 61 Hagley Park Road, Kingston, beginning at 10 a.m. Listen live on Love 101 FM radio and our social media platforms with presentations to be carried by Minister Desmond McKenzie and the Most Honorable Dr. Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica. That's the National Disaster Risk Management Council presentation this Wednesday, June 4 at 10 a.m. Live on Love 101 FM social media platforms and Love.
I want to go on campus. Young people are go hard from campus. Come on, tell me back one. Campus connection, yeah, that's a one.
Welcome back to Campus Connection. If you're just joining us, we are just about getting ready to ease our way into the episode. We have a special lineup for you today. We have, of course, our education news and bulletin. We have I Chose Christ, and we have a very special feature for you with Savannah McDonald, an assistant language instructor in Japan. And then, of course, for our main segment, we're dealing with Jamaicans across the globe. So please, we want to know from you, if you were to live outside of Jamaica, if you were to live outside of Jamaica, where would you live? What country would you live? What in
Hmm.
Jonathan, if you were to live outside of Jamaica?
Boy, that rough, because I love Jamaica. Like a lot of persons may not know this, but I actually love living in Jamaica and being in Jamaica.
Yeah,
I've traveled a bit before, and trust me, when them say no, we're not better than yard, real,
that's true. That's
real. I
true.
mean, I love to travel. I love to go different places and whatever. But boy, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you?
If I were to live outside of Jamaica,
Mm-hmm.
funny story. I would probably live in the US. Yeah, I'll probably live in the US.
Surprise, surprise there, ladies and gentlemen.
Maybe, yeah, I think that's where I would
I
live.
mean, yeah, I mean, there are some places in the US that I definitely live.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, Florida is definitely one of those places because it reminds me a lot about Jamaica. I
Mm-hmm.
actually really like Georgia as well.
Okay, yeah.
Um, but outside of that, I
Eh,
don't know.
you
I
couldn't say
don't
something
know.
exotic like Paris,
I mean,
Paris,
outside of the US,
London,
I haven't been to all countries, right? So
right?
I can't say. But based on the limited information that I have,
Yeah,
I would probably say the Bahamas. And
yeah,
that's just because of
yeah.
how it looks. I think it looks very
Amazing.
luxurious and,
Oh,
it
you
have that
see,
look there.
them things that you like.
I'm
Okay.
just saying. I'm just saying.
But
But
yes, we want
other
to
from that, I
hear.
don't know.
Yes, we
Hmm.
want to hear from you, our listeners and viewers. Where would you live if you were to live outside of Jamaica? And of course, you can just simply comment on our live stream at Love 101 FM Jamaica on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, as Jonathan said earlier. But also, if you want to call in and chat with us, we haven't done that in a while. You can call us on 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328. You can also reach out to us on WhatsApp at 876-997-3125. Where would you live if you were to live
Where?
outside of Jamaica?
Yeah, and I hope the listeners and the viewers have their passports this evening because we're going across the globe with
Yeah.
Campus Connection this evening. The show is Jamaicans across the globe, campus sites across the globe. So we want you to take this journey with us, whether it is that you're listening on the radio or you're listening wherever or viewing or whatever. Please grab your passport, and if you don't have a passport, don't worry, we can squeeze it in somewhere. You understand? Yeah. Because we're going where we need to go. And just about now, we're going into our education news and bulletin, and this will be done by Camille Lawrence, our campus consultant.
Connection, yeah, that's a go on down, yeah. Hey, I walk one from campus, and we a carry lord from campus. Come on, tell me walk one now. I walk one now, yeah. Hey, walk one, everybody want move.
Education news and bulletins for Tuesday, June 3, 2025. Hundreds of special needs children face silent struggle out of school awaiting assessments. Families across Jamaica are raising the alarm over the country's inability to meet the educational needs of children with special needs. A growing number of children go unassessed each year, exacerbating what experts are calling a silent national crisis. Each year, nearly 1,000 children are registered for psychoeducational assessment at the Microcare Center, the oldest institution of its kind in the country. However, only about 700 are assessed annually, leaving around 300 children on a growing wait list. These long waiting lists at assessment centers like Microcare, high costs for private evaluations, and limited spaces at special education institutions are leaving many families frustrated and overwhelmed. Without timely diagnosis and affordable support services, children are often left without access to the help they urgently need. Education Minister Senator Dr. Dana Morris Dixon acknowledged that enough is not being done for special needs children in Jamaica. She said as a first step, the government is investing in diagnostics, mentioning a $180 million center to be established at the College for Agriculture, Science and Education. She said this is to ease the challenges being faced at MICO, which include a shortage of professionals who can conduct assessments. Dr. Morris Dixon said the Education Ministry has asked the University of the West Indies for support, disclosing that the institution is providing new courses for special needs assessments, diagnosis, and treatment.
She said the government is also working with the UWI to expand programs offered on speech pathology, behavior, and occupational therapy. 43 young Jamaicans honored with Prime Minister's Youth Awards. The outstanding work and achievements of Jamaican youth were on display on Saturday, May 31, as 43 individuals and groups were presented with the 2024 Prime Minister's National Youth Awards for Excellence. Held on the lawns of Jamaica House, the ceremony awarded young people in the categories of academics, agriculture and agro-processing, arts and culture, entrepreneurship, environmental protection, innovation in science and technology, journalism, music, nation building, national leadership, new media, which includes social media, YouTubers, bloggers, and vloggers, sports, youth development, and the new categories of special abilities and technical and vocational education and training. The Prime Minister's Special Youth Award for Excellence was presented to the Clayton twins, Tia and Tina, for their exceptional achievements in track and field. Dr. Holness outlined various programs that are in place to assist students from early childhood to tertiary and vocational levels. He also spoke of the cutting-edge technology training for youth through public-private partnerships, such as the Amber Heart Academy. He said that grants of up to $300,000 were introduced for recent graduates of the Heart NSTA Trust Level 4 Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics courses to purchase specialized tools, software, and start businesses. Education Ministry to roll out curriculum instruction and assessment roadmap in September. The Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information will be rolling out its new curriculum instruction and assessment roadmap in September of this year. Director of Regional Educational Services, Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, Region 1, Otis Brown, who made the disclosure, said under the initiative, the ministry will be providing special resources for teachers to improve their approaches to improve student academic performance. Key subject areas targeted under the initiative are mathematics, English language, literacy, and language arts. Under the program, which spans all grade levels, Mr. Brown said educators and students will be provided with resources to address learning gaps. In addition, regular assessments will be conducted to identify weaknesses and to formulate strategies to improve student performance in these areas. Mr. Brown pointed out that the initiative will seek to develop individual learning plans for children who have special needs and give specialized attention to these children to assist them to do better academically. And now for the bulletins. Passion and Purity presents Youth Summer Camp 2025. Mark your calendars. Save the date. August 7 to 9, 2025. Happening at the New Generation Campsite, Cranbrook Estate, St. Anne. The perfect place to grow, connect, and get inspired. Only 12,000 Jamaican dollars with a deposit requirement of 4,000 by June 6. Final payments are due July 31. For registration and other details, visit at Passion and Purity JA. That's Passion and Purity Youth Summer Camp 2025, August 7 to 9. Finding your passion, embracing your purity. The New Testament Church of God Jamaica National Education Support Initiative, in celebration of 100 years, is awarding 100 scholarships, each valued at 100,000 Jamaican dollars. Requirements can be found on the application form at www.ntcogjamaica.org. Application deadline is June 11, 2025. That's the New Testament Church of God Jamaica celebrating 100 years with 100 scholarships, open to tertiary students across Jamaica. Call us at 876-927-7767 for more details. That's the education news and bulletins for Campus Connection. I am Camille Lawrence.
Thank you so much.
Camille, for the education news and bulletin. We're jumping now to a quick break, but when we return, more Campus Connection will be right here when you get back.
The time by Grace Good Move is
5:45.
Febreze. Imagine getting home after a long day and it smells so amazing that it makes you smile. Try Febreze Plugs, an air freshener that delivers continuous scent for up to 50 days when you plug it in low mode. Indulge in wonderful scents for weeks with Febreze.
This Emancipation Day, experience a night of powerful praise and purpose. CC Winans brings her More Than This tour to Jamaica with Chevelle Franklin, Heaven Downswell, Prince Sar, Jean-Marc Wigan, hosted by IT Ellis and Nadine Blair. Gates open 2 p.m., showtime 5 p.m. Tickets at select outlets island-wide or online at spuropen.com. Follow at More Than This Jamaica on Instagram for updates. CC Winans, Friday, August 1, live at King's House East Lawns. Powered by Grace Kennedy, Guardian Life, Love 101 FM, Hawkeye, and other partners.
Want to upgrade your home but don't know where to start? Check Home and Things. We have the deals that will do the work for you. Get unbeatable deals on tiles, bathroom fixtures and vanities, faucets, windows and doors, plus so much more. Enjoy big savings and visit Home and Things at 17 Old Hope Road or 68 and a half Constant Spring Road and get deals that will work for you.
Okay, where are the campus eyes? Students are strap up in a price. We are.
All right. Welcome back to Campus Connection. And if you're just joining us, we are on a journey. We're going all over the world this evening, and we want you to be there with us as we discuss Jamaicans across the globe. And we have a special I Chose Christ feature. And this one will be done by Gabriel Campbell, UA Mona student. Listening and be blessed.
Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Gabrielle Campbell and I'm heading into my third year of the Doctor of Pharmacy program at the University of the West Indies Mona campus. My Christian journey started back in 2016, and one thing that I've learned is to be intentional about placing my education in God's hands. So my testimony comes from the experience of writing my CXC CAPE physics exam. Physics was always my weakest science subject. I was doing very substandard during the course year. I was barely passing the subject, and all in all, I just was not understanding the material. It gave me so many meltdowns and so many breakdowns. So when the examination period was in full swing, I prayed intentionally about this subject for God's help and divine intervention. Leading up to the exam, I was feeling more confident about certain topics in the syllabus, but still did not fully grasp the rest of the concept. So on the day of the exam, it was scheduled for the afternoon. So in the morning, I was reviewing the things I learned from the marathons and as much as I could from the other material. And then a thought struck me of being in the exam room, seeing a question on a topic I did not understand, not knowing how to work out the answer, and just feeling alone and doing extremely poorly on that exam. My mind became completely distracted, nervous, flustered, anxious, to the point of bursting into tears. Started to pray and ask the Lord to calm my nerves, to calm my mind, because a focused mind is just as crucial as studying when it comes on to doing exams. As I started praying, I heard Psalm 126. And so I went for my Bible and turned to Psalm 126, which I didn't know at the time. And I read it, and it literally spoke into my situation. It says, "Those that sow in tears will reap in joy. He that goes out weeping will doubtless come again with rejoicing, bringing his sheaves with him." In that moment, just felt the Lord himself going before me into that exam room and assuring my success on it. And then the nervousness turned into empowerment. And lo and behold, when I sat that exam, topics that I understood were the topics that came on the exam paper. And I was able to answer all the questions with confidence. When the results came in, I had received a grade 1 in that same subject. And so I give God thanks. All being said, choosing Christ means that He is Lord over every aspect of your life, no matter how small it may seem. And He wants you to submit everything to Him so that you may prosper in this land. I chose Christ, and you should too.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
My.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I know that one they touch you. I know that one
Yes.
they touch you. Wonderful, wonderful testimony in our I Chose Christ feature done by Gabriel Campbell, UA Mona student. Beautifully
Mhm.
done. We love it. We absolutely love it. All
Mm.
right, cool. So it's now time for a special feature with Savannah McDonald, assistant language instructor in Japan. She is one who coordinates cultural exchanges and raises financial aid in the form of scholarships for underprivileged students who wish to pursue study abroad programs but cannot afford to. She's also a visual media projects personnel in Japan, where she does like creative photo shoots and stuff like that. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's just now welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me on Jamaicans across the globe. I'm really so appreciative for this opportunity. My name is Savannah McDonald, and I'm currently living in Japan as an assistant language teacher, but I wear several hats. And I do so much more than just assist with English language instruction. I'm a visual media director or production assistant on the side. I do many creative photo shoots. I've worked with Japanese creatives and photographers to bring a creative vision or innovative vision to life, as my background was in integrated marketing communication as a bachelor's. And I'm also proud to say that I have been assisting with a lot of cultural coordination exchanges between Japanese students and students in Indonesia, South Korea, Thailand, and it has been amazing to help Japanese students expand their worldview and be able to learn more about different cultures because they are not really that exposed to many cultures within the Japanese education system. Aside from that, I also have been raising funds to help Japanese students who want to pursue study abroad opportunities, but they are underprivileged, they might have certain circumstances, and so I help to train them, whether it is English wise or having them learn more about their target country's culture so that they can be better equipped to apply for their study abroad exchange. And I'm really passionate about that. And even in the future, my goal is to actually work as a study abroad or work abroad coordinator for Jamaicans because I believe that it's such an enriching experience. Living in Japan has done so much for me and it has really broadened my worldview. Even now, as I'm sitting in my living room, I have a giant rainbow map of the world, which is so symbolic to me because I'm really big on helping people to get rich cultural experiences. Now, in terms of what I'm most proud of in Japan is the fact that I not only share my own culture with my students and other Japanese people in my community, but I have led volunteer groups where I have led other assistant language teachers in my area to give back to the community where we speak to the elderly, we clean Japanese traditional houses, tatami rooms is what they call them. We have assisted with English language exchanges, and not only that, I have helped Japanese students to understand more about Jamaica, but I have also helped Japanese students to understand more about other countries. So far, I have been to the Philippines, I have been to Singapore, South Korea, Hong Kong, and whenever I go on these experiences, I love to share my travels with students because I really don't know and I want them to have a more rounded view because since Jamaican education gave me a more rounded view, I am able to go out and share these things with Japanese students so that they can expose themselves to more experiences and know that there's life beyond, just living in Japan. And if you want to go work in Australia, you can work in Australia, or you can study in New Zealand. You could, if you're interested in volunteering, you can go to Latin America, you can go to Africa, Europe, where there's a certain social issue that you think you could make an impact related to that issue. So I think that's my biggest achievement, just allowing people to see that they can achieve more for themselves as I want people to believe in themselves, and that's what I really instill in my students and people in my community. As it relates to challenges I have faced in Japan, so I did study Japanese before I came here, but one challenge is kind of building a bond with the community, which is why I'm very happy that I not only built a volunteer group with other assistant language teachers, foreigners, but I also coordinated events for my Japanese students who want to study abroad, and I helped to raise financial aid for those Japanese students studying abroad. And I didn't only promote it amongst foreigners, but I promoted it amongst Japanese people as well, to kind of build a community to say, hey, I'm organizing original events, and these events are going towards a scholarship fund for Japanese students who want to go abroad but they can't afford it. It's called the Hiroshima Jet Scholarship Fund, and it's a really great cause. I so far I just my block has raised over 100,000 yen. We have raised so much money for students, and one year we were even able to give two students a scholarship. Usually we're only able to give one student a year the scholarship. So even though it was a challenge initially to build a community, I'm glad I was able to do it so that we could give back to students who truly needed it. And wrapping up, I really do recommend not necessarily coming to Japan for Jamaicans, but I recommend just just don't aim for the sky, like literally aim for the clouds, aim for space, aim for the universe, because whether it is Japan, another Caribbean country, even America, the UK, Canada, which Jamaicans usually go to, there's a rich cultural experience waiting for you, and you never know where you could really be of assistance in that regard. If I didn't come to Japan, I wouldn't have really recognized just how much I want to work in the field of culture and the arts for fundraising to help students or people achieve their dreams, and then they can come back to Jamaica and give back to Jamaica in the way I went abroad. And I want to come back to Jamaica to help students who want to work over who want to work overseas or who want to study. So, to all my Jamaicans across the globe, you're doing a great job. It's not easy to live in a country that's not your own. It's not easy to do all these things, but you're doing a great job. And thank you once again for having me. I really hope I can inspire somebody out there. And if you want to know more about my journey or see more of my journey, you can follow me on Instagram. It's my name, Savannah, SAVANNAH, JPG, Instagram, like JPG, like the photo, JPG. I post my visual media content on there, and I post a lot about my journey in Japan. So thank you so much, and I hope those listening, you have a wonderful day, or if your day is already finished, I hope that the next day will be even better. Thank you. Bye.
Well, you just heard there from Savannah McDonald, an assistant language instructor in Japan, and obviously making strides in her
Mm-hmm.
sphere of influence. I mean, she gone global already. You can hear,
Literally.
I mean, Singapore, she's been all over pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And settling in Japan and being an educator, but also just being a part of that bridge, helping people to understand more about different cultures and helping in a positive way, raising funds for those who are in need. So kudos to you, Savannah. I would have loved to hear some Japanese before she ended. Maybe we have to bring her on to the show so she can give us a piece. But yeah,
Well,
yeah.
let's see what happens, and maybe in the next week or so, Anesta will learn some Japanese as well and share with us. Who knows? Who
Who
knows?
knows?
You know, we believe, we believe. Yeah, we're going to jump straight to a break right now, but we wanted to stick and stay with us because we have more campus connection for you after these messages.
everybody's business. Call 1-888-PROTECT to report suspected cases of child trafficking.
The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:01.
Listen for the Back to the Bible broadcast immediately following the sponsored broadcast by the Minister of Local Government on Wednesday, June 4. That's the Back to the Bible broadcast airing at 1 p.m. Wednesday, June 4, right here on the family station, Love 101.
Okay, where are the campus heights? Students are strap up in a price. We are.
All right.
Welcome
Welcome
back.
back to.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. Welcome back.
Welcome back to. Yeah. So we have we as we say, I hope you have your passport, your visa,
Oh,
your what else you need to
you
travel, your
didn't say that
ticket.
the first time, you know.
I know, but boy, now that we think about it, there's a lot that is required sometimes, when
Yeah.
you're traveling. But thank God for Campus Connection, where you don't need any of that, right? You can listen wherever you are, you can view wherever you are, and we're just going to take you on a little journey across the globe. We want to take this WhatsApp message quickly from Edna in Montego Bay. She said that she would live in Canada. Boy, Edna, me no know about that one them. I tell you the truth. Cause me and the cold,
Cowl.
Lord Jesus, me and the cold don't agree so well.
Mm,
Cause the truth is, if we choose in between warm climate and cold climate, I have to go with warm
you
climate. I'm
the
not gonna
warm.
lie.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah,
Same.
yeah. This one we got clothes for go outside. No.
Yeah.
But let's go across the globe a bit, because we're going to talk to some people who, they've experienced different climates across the globe. So Jamaicans, both young and old, have made significant contributions to various fields, and their cultural influence continues to grow and inspire people worldwide. We do have a global presence. Jamaicans can be found in many countries, including the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Japan. We just heard from Savannah just now. And of course, we bring our cultural influence through music, our cuisine, the way how we dress, the dances that we do, all of those things, because we do have a rich culture and a rich heritage. So wherever we go, you have to know that we are really Jamaicans where we are. So right now we're going to be speaking with Georgia Winter, recent graduate with a bachelor's degree in chemistry from Coppin State University. We'll also bring on Carson Henry, computer science student at the University of Florida. So yeah, as I tell you, we're going international, we're going global, because we're talking to people in foreign. Understand? Georgia, Carson, welcome to Campus Connection.
Good evening.
Welcome
Good
to the
evening.
show,
Thank
guys.
you for having me.
Awesome. Boy, Savannah said something. I don't know if you're listening to the show earlier on, but Savannah, who is currently in Japan, she said something that is quite interesting. It takes a lot of gut, a lot of grit. Oh, would you look at that? Carson, you went to Ireland. Wow.
Yes.
Amazing. Carson, I know that there was something special about it, I
Oh
couldn't
my
put my
God.
finger
Here
on
we
it, but I
go.
knew. I mean, Georgia is special as well. Both of you are awesome. But
That's
Carson,
right.
man, that Ireland thing just. Anyway, I'm a focus.
School great. School is too great,
Yeah,
man.
man, one Optima. So yes, back to the show. Um, so the truth is, living abroad, studying abroad is not the easiest thing to do. You would agree, right?
Yeah,
But
definitely.
is the sacrifice that important? Let's put it that way. How great is the sacrifice, one, and do you see the sacrifice as being that worthy that you say, no man, I have to do this based on where I want to head in life? Georgia, we'll go with you first.
Okay, so thank you again for having me. Um, the sacrifice. One thing I'd have to say is I had to deal with a lot of loneliness. Being
Mm,
in the States. Um, a lot of lonely nights and stuff like that. But it pushed me forward towards achieving my goal. Like I know I had to get the degree that I wanted, and I couldn't let anything else like impede me from completing it. So the sacrifice, it was, I guess it was worth it, since I'm
Mm-hmm.
finished. I graduated
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks ago. But it was just, learning to live with it, and finding ways to cope with all the different stressors that I had whilst going to school here in the US.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Carson, what about you? You're going into your second year, right?
That's correct.
Sacrifice worth it so far.
So far, well, I definitely think that I've had one of those more interesting experiences going
Mm-hmm.
into my first year of university. Like, foreign business aside, my first year so far at UF has been challenging, as it should be, because if some place is not
Mm-hmm.
challenging, that means that you're not really growing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, in my first semester, not only do I have to cope with, okay, I'm in a completely new environment, don't have any
Mm-hmm.
friends, have to go make friends. I'm doing some challenging courses, like computer science is not an easy thing. In fact, I even
Mm-hmm.
started off in computer engineering, which is like worse. And yeah, I broke my right hand, my dominant hand, my writing hand in my
Wow.
first semester on the day of
What?
my first exam.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, man.
And
Yeah, I got
so
through it. Yeah, man. Mm-hmm. I
big
see it.
going through,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know
And
that I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, continue.
That brings me to the question of
Wow.
navigating the challenges, because it's easy to thrive in an environment where you're supported, where you have lots of
Mm-hmm.
friends and family. But when you're in an environment where you're at school and the only Jamaican in your class and you are going through these challenges, like how do you navigate and cope with these challenges? Carson, I'll start with you since you just explained with your right hand and everything.
Yeah. So for me, I'm not really biased or anything. Like, I see all people as one people. Like,
Mm.
race, color, and colorblind, I don't really care. We're all one people. We're all made by God in one image. And so, as long as I share the same general interest with somebody, I can usually find something to talk about with them, and and I can relate to them in that type of sense. And I
Mm-hmm.
found that in you know, being interested in my studies and really wanting to get some of that information, I had to push myself out of my comfort zone a little bit to kind of make sure I was putting myself in the right places to get the information I needed or to
Mm-hmm.
succeed in my courses, because the learning process is a lot different from high school. Like, even from Cape, like they were telling us, like from high school, that okay, when you go into college, it's going to be like this. Yeah, you're going to be in control of your studies, X, Y, and Z. And
Mm-hmm.
they're saying that Cape was supposed to mimic that, but it really didn't. Like,
Yeah.
whenever I'm not in classes, I am in these sessions called office hours. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how they work at um, Georgia School or maybe at UA, but the University of Florida has these sessions called office hours where professors are required to sit down with you like for like an hour or three, like a week maybe, and they just sit in their office and you're allowed to go in there and ask them literally any questions.
Mm-hmm.
So like for my first 2 semesters, that's basically how I've been coping with getting through a lot of my studies. I'd literally bring them my homework and be like, all right, professor, so how exactly do you do this question? What exactly is the approach to this question? Or you did this
Mm-hmm.
exercise in class. I didn't completely follow what happened here. Could you run that through me again? And they also even had like these separate study spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you know how everybody's afraid of math, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Calculus, big, scary. All right, cool. So UF has this one room on a building that's dedicated strictly to studying math. So all the math majors, all the graduate students who did math already, did all
Mm-hmm.
levels of calculus, they are there from 10 a.m. to like 4 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Wow.
If I am not in a lecture and I'm not in my room, I'm usually in one of those spaces. And so that's basically how I've been really coping with it. And in going to a lot of those spaces, I've been finding more and more people that I feel like I can connect and resonate with because, we have that same level of interest in our studies.
Mm-hmm.
And we have like other interests outside that as well. And I feel like the Lord has been like, carrying me into these spaces and putting in place people in my life, in order to keep me focused.
Yeah, love it. Georgia, would you like to comment on that?
Yes. For me as well, like you said office hours too. Yeah, I was in office hours a lot for um majority of my classes, my upper level chemistry classes. And another way I also coped was my school, it's a pretty small HBCU in Maryland. So my major is also small as well. There's not a lot of people doing chemistry. So I was able to make friends with the people in my major, and we
Nice.
could we could happily, I was able to get along with them easily. So I was able to find friendship in them. And we all had like similar goals towards getting the degree and stuff. So I was able to relate to them. And also with the school being small as well too, it was easy for me to like find friends like outside of my major as well. But um yeah, it was just find the comfort of relating to other students in my major. And being able to cope with that. um
Hmm.
it was, yeah. But also it was just an everyday thing of like going to office hours and um basically running down professors to talk to them about what we learned in class, because they're so
Yeah.
busy as well. But yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. It seems like a learning curve, if you will, something that you really have to get adjusted to. Um, Georgia, you went to St. Andrews for girls.
Same on.
Um, St. Andrews. As a past student, do you think that you would have picked up on certain traits, certain tenets, certain lessons from being a part of the St. Andrews community to really help um you going to university abroad?
um well, I went to St. Andrew from grade 7 to 9, and then I
Mm-hmm.
came to the US for grade 10 to 12. But what I did pick up is this the faith in God that the St. Andrew High had. Um, it was still instilled in me. So
Mm.
I carried that over to my high school in the US. And then I was also able to carry that throughout my schooling and throughout university as well. Thankfully, that was a very important thing that I was lucky that St. Andrew High had. And yeah, I was happy that that was one of the major things for me. And another thing was, since it's like an all girls school, um, for me, I was able to socialize well with the girls there. And I carried, because I grew up very introverted. So being able to socialize there at St. Andrew High, and then I came to the high school in the US. And um, of course it's co-ed, so I also had to socialize with other genders as well. And
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
socialize with other genders as well. So that that was also sort of a challenge. But it was, socializing with the girls at St. Andrew High. It was quick for me to socialize with everyone else. And then I got out of my shell a little bit. And once I got to my HBCU, it was smooth sailing from there. So just the faith and trust in God that I got from St. Andrew High, and
Mm-hmm.
also the being able to socialize well with my peers. That was really what I got from there. Yeah.
Wow, absolutely powerful. I love that. I love that a lot. Ah, boy, we have so much more to unpack from this episode, but we do have a lot of time. And we have to take a break, but we want you to stay with us after these messages.
You can see the face, but not the heart of those who wanna do you wrong. So many.
Bless up. This is Christopher Martin. Human trafficking is a crime. Let's unite to end human trafficking. Be wise, open your eyes, spot them, stop them, and report them.
A message from the Ministry of National Security.
No shadow at the dark. No shadow at the dark.
On the next episode of The Mailbox, we will be exploring the topic sold out for Christ. This phrase, sold out for Christ, is often used to describe a deep passion and commitment to one's faith, and it's also a powerful way to express our devotion to Christ above all else. You are invited to join the conversation with our guest, Pastor Junior Tucker, founder of Family Word and Worship Church, who has surrendered all his life, ambitions, and desires to follow God's will. That's Wednesday, June 4 at 5:30 p.m. only on the family station. Love 101, The Mailbox, Monday.
No one ever skylark. Okay, where are the campus heights? Students are strapped up in a.
Welcome back to Campus Connection. Yeah, make some noise. Come, Georgia. Come, Carson. No, no noise. Okay, cool. Uh, Yeah, man. Welcome back to the show. We are taking this thing globally, right?
Yeah.
We're speaking to Jamaicans across the globe,
Yeah.
right? We have Georgia Winter here. She is a graduate, big graduate of the one and only Coppin State University with a bachelor's degree in chemistry. And we have Carson Henry, an Ardenite, if I may say so myself, computer science student at the University of Florida. And before the break, they were giving us a little insight on their journey just thus far, rather, concerning being in overseas and all of that. Um, so Carson, Georgia would have shared a bit about how St. Andrews would have helped her where she is now. But what I want you to answer for us is, have you been, I don't want to use the word forced, but sometimes life has a way of pushing us into a certain direction where we have to learn certain skills, we have to learn certain ways of doing things. Did you find yourself experiencing any of that?
Well, I can definitely say that my college experience so far has not been without its challenges. Having done like the entire grade 7 through 13 process in high school at Arden, I was thinking to myself, okay, I know maths. I did pure maths unit 1, I did pure maths unit 2. I do not want to repeat them. I have it. Must come
Right.
in and just continue from where I drop off. Looking back right now, that kind of felt a little bit like a mistake. I definitely wish I had slowed down a little bit, taken the time to understand the system that I was stepping into, and not just running straight ahead into it and burning myself out in the process. I mean, I definitely still survived. I didn't fail anything yet, thankfully.
That's good.
But it definitely made things a lot harder than they should have been. I'll definitely put it that way. And so, in that sense, I think right now I'm having to learn how to adapt to the school system and how they basically teach things, because they structure math a lot differently over there. So, for example, where we would just have general CSET math, then add math, and then pure math, and all math is just all the topics is just one. It's all math. Over there, they split it up more into different courses. So you don't just do math, then bigger maths, then bigger maths. It's more like, oh, now you're doing algebra. Now you're doing trigonometry. Now you're doing calculus. These are all the separate things. Yeah. And so they would have gone a little bit more deeper into certain topics in ways I didn't really expect. Or, had certain expectations I didn't really expect.
Yeah.
For example, with pure maths, you're allowed to use a calculator on both papers. Not at UF. You're not allowed to use a calculator for calc. The course is called calculus, and I can't use my calculator. And that was definitely one of the biggest adjustments. I mean, we were taught a way around it in Cape, but just being more efficiently brain oriented. You're like, I don't need that. I have my calculator. But
Right.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've had to been adjusting to that definitely, among other things.
So let me ask you guys this, because I feel like you're kind of acclimating yourselves to your new environment, and I feel like you might have some tips that you could give to persons who may be thinking about studying abroad, and maybe thinking about just going for that undergraduate program in a place they have no family there, they have no friends there, but they know this is what they want to study. So Georgia, you just did your bachelor's and you're actually going for your master's. So you should have you can give me two tips. Give me two tips for somebody who is thinking about studying abroad. What would you advise them?
I guess the first advice would be to like, I know everyone says it, but just don't be afraid to ask questions. Like once like when you're like if you're coming um to do uh a university, coming to do your I'm sorry. If you're coming to university, I just
Mhm.
say like don't be afraid to ask questions. Like
Mhm.
that's just my number one tip because yeah, that's how I got through my years there at college. I had to ask everyone questions from every single department, ask for help from not only just your professors, but people working in the administrative building. Like you don't know where you'll be able to like where someone will be able to like help you like in an efficient way. So
Mhm.
yeah, just don't be afraid to ask questions. And um if they brush you off, honestly, go back again and
Mhm.
ask them the same question because they are there to answer your questions and to help you. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
also another thing I would say is in addition to like asking for help, I'd say also find like-minded people to be friends with because they can also help you along in college. Because I like I said before, I'm very introverted. I was a very introverted person, coming into university, but
Mhm.
um finding finding people who I relate to, um, and talking with them and becoming friends with them. It has helped me a lot to basically weather the storm that is this different country and this different society. Like
Yeah.
it's just yeah, you have to
You
be
need
able to like
people. You
you need
need people.
people. Yeah,
Yeah.
make at least one friend. And yeah, and another yeah, and talk and ask questions all the time to your professors and the people who work at the university. Yeah.
Love it. So what about you, Carson? What are your two tips?
I'd say tip one is pace yourself, brace yourself, and don't erase yourself. Because I explained
Wow.
already the
Mm.
kind of difficulties I was going through immediately with
Hold on.
you
You
know,
can't just say that and just move on. Hold on. Hold up. Come again with that. Pace
yes. So I
yourself.
said pace yourself,
Mm-hmm.
brace yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and don't erase yourself.
Okay. Break it
So I
down for
mean,
us
yeah.
now.
So all right, pace yourself. I already explained how I kind of jumped in thinking I could just pick up from where I left off. And that's not really how life or university works. Because there's
Mm-hmm.
a saying that, you reinvent yourself. Like every 7 years, you become a completely different person. And
Mm.
like you transition from, from primary school to high school. I remember reinventing myself in grade seven.
Mm-hmm.
And then from, high school to university, that's another step you have to reinvent yourself at.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something that you have to really brace yourself for, and you have to really pace yourself with to say, okay, I'm not gonna rush it. It's
Mm-hmm.
a growth process, and you have to accept that, and you have to really just don't fill up your plate too much with too much, bite off more than
Mm.
you can chew. So that
Love
really
it.
covers, pace and brace. And so don't erase yourself. By that I mean really try and like stick with the values that help ground you. So for example, um with college, I know a lot of people, having that more freedom on their schedule, they like to say, all right, I'm going to wake up late now and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z because this is what's going to be most comfortable for me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do any of that. I tried to make sure that at least for my first 2 semesters, I tried to structure my schedule to make it
Mm-hmm.
as similar as possible to what
Okay.
I grew up doing, back at home here.
Okay.
So I tried to like fit as many classes as possible into that
Mm-hmm.
like 7 to 3 window, if
Mm-hmm.
it was possible. In my second semester, it was not so possible because,
Right.
the more advanced you get with courses, the more flexible,
Yeah.
lecture times need to be for people who are
Yeah.
working and that kind of thing. But yeah, that's part of how I, tried not to race myself. And also like Jonathan was like asking Georgia for like some things that she learned at St. Andrew that really helped her with the whole, transition experience into university. I
Mm-hmm.
definitely say that Arden instilled in me like a sense of discipline
Mm-hmm.
that I still, abide by to this day because it was mandatory that we're in like a club. And like
Mm-hmm.
I chose a music club and at
Oh.
Arden, the music club was it was just up there. Like
My
in terms
co-host
of
is
like
glowing over there.
yeah, it was one of those things where it was like it was seen as you were one of those students if you made it into the music club, it was really serious. And
Yeah.
so we were up there doing rehearsals from like 6:50 a.m. in the morning until the time classes would start. And then on top of that, I also took upon myself prefect responsibilities. I got like deputy head boy of my year. And
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, I'm really used to, doing a lot first thing in the mornings, and like succeeding in the mornings is one of those ways that I feel like I'm in control of my day. And that's one of
Okay.
the things that really, helped me cope.
Mm-hmm.
Like especially this is how my parents were also wired and oriented, especially my father. And so
Mm-hmm.
like first thing in the mornings I also make sure to, call them as well. Because like your parents are really just they're your best friends. Like there's no other way to put it. They're the
Mm.
only people in the world that will care about you the way you care about yourself or even more.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, those are basically my 2 tips.
Alright.
Wow.
We love it. We love it. We love it a lot. And we're definitely proud of both of you. And we're
Yes.
looking forward to what the future will hold. If you want to shout out anybody, quick. Georgia, anybody you want to shout out?
Shout out my brothers who are still living in
Mm-hmm.
Jamaica, real as hell. And I also want to shout out my dad and my mom. Yeah.
All
All right,
right.
Carson.
I like to shout out my parents. And I like to shout out my aunt who, put me on the show.
Okay.
Miss
Okay.
Melrose Ready Stewart, yeah. She was one, who put me on the show, asked me if I was interested. And yeah.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Georgia and Carson, Jamaicans across the globe, campus sites across the globe, here inside Campus Connection on the Family Station, Love 101. Thank you very much for sticking and staying with us this evening. But we want you to continue the journey with us. We will be having a part two come next week, June 10. So that's Jamaicans across the globe part two. And you want to be a part of that. Then we go to Fathers in Education the following week. And boy, that's going to be something else. Then, of course, our annual scholarships show on June 24th and July 1st. We will have our summer class party. So you don't want to miss that. Big shout out to the team: Dr. Nadine Blair, Jermaine Johnson, Nikki Angus, Shania Smith, Daniel Cox, David Sutton, Eden Palmer, Ruth Lawrence, Camille Lawrence, and Raquel Robertson. Thank you so much for making Campus Connection what it is. To our guests, big up on yourself. Thank you. To you, our listeners, to you, our viewers, thank you for making it Campus Connection. That's it for our show this week. Campus Connection was brought to you by Heart NSTA Trust. Skill is power. See you next week as we explore more things while Guampan campus. I'm Jonathan Fletcher.
And I'm Anesta. We'll see you next week.
You're tuned to Family Radio Broadcasting from Kingston, Jamaica. We're Love 101 FM, and it's now 6:30 p.m.